you're doing up these old bikes that may have been built 20, 30, 40 or 50 years ago, you'll invariably end up doing a lot of polishing and cleaning. In many cases, the aluminium was polished and then lacquered back in the day by the manufacturer, and over time the lacquer cracks, eventually it gets, road salt gets under there, it starts to attack the aluminium and it all looks pretty unsightly. So how do I take a bike that looks really quite tatty and tired and scruffy looking into something that looks a lot prettier? So I've got a gs750 up in the ramp just now. I'll just give you a little look at it. There we are. Now this was a bike that has not been run for about 35 years. Or hasn't been on the road for 35 years, although it does run now. But it was very, very scruffy, and all this area around here was really very discoloured and just shabby and tired looking. And you know, it takes the smile off the bike, you know. So you can see these cam covers here. These are just little covers on the end of the cam casings, you know, just to dress the engine and make it look a lot prettier. And they really do make the engine look a lot nicer. So getting these to look presentable is something that you're going to spend a lot of time doing. So what do I use to do that? So I'll show you my kind of I'll show you my arsenal as opposed to showing you my arse. I'll show you my arsenal of tooling that I use. So I would use these polishing wheels for polishing aluminium engine casings in conjunction with, you know, cutting compound. We've got large and small varieties of these, of course, and you put them in your pistol drill and they're really, really very effective. Surprisingly, this is great stuff. It's an aluminium pan scourer, and they're brilliant for cutting through the lacquer on engine casings, because if you're going to try and polish through it with Autosol or something like that, it's going to take you forever. But this gets through it really very well without marking the casing, and then you can polish it up afterwards with your polishing wheel. One of the main standbys, of course, is Scotch-Brite, and I have lots of varieties of polishing wheels. So they're not expensive. None of this stuff is expensive. If you want to buy a set of these things, these are maybe 15 or 20 pounds, and they'll put a huge amount of value into your bike for a very modest investment. So it's got to be a win, hasn't it? The biggest standby is this stuff, and it's Scotch-Brite. Scotch-Brite is a brand name, but if you just go onto eBay or anything and Google Scotch-Brite pads, you'll find various manufacturers' variants have been are thrown up there. But this is a great thing that you can use. You'll get different levels of coarseness or fineness of them, but generally if you get a pack, it'll be a mix of the different levels of granularity within there. So I'm going to show you something now, how you can get a real win with this stuff in quite a short time, and I'm going to do it right in front of you, just so you know how easy the win is. So that's a cam cover off the other side of the engine, and it's bloody horrible. So you know, when you put it on this on the engine, it just looks awful. So how can you get that to change from that, which is all scabby and nasty around the edges, to look like that in just a few minutes? And it's truly just a few minutes. So I'm going to do it right in front of you just now. So let me just shuffle this around, and we'll go down. If you can see that. Okay, I'll move this stuff out of the way. I have various other things too. These are abrasive wheels. These are very, very good, but they're quite aggressive because they have it's emery paper in between each of the Scotch-Brite pads. If you Google Scotch-Brite wheel, you'll get any number of these kind of variants thrown up. So these are the Scotch-Brite wheels. These are some which are, that's very coarse, but it's great for polishing off. This is great for polishing off, I don't know, swing arms and that kind of stuff that are having a huddle or road salt, but they're made of mild steel, so they'll take a lot of abrasive action without marking the steel. You can't do that with aluminium. You'll just destroy it. You'll get it cleaned up, but you'll never get it polished because there'll be so many scratches on it. So you use finer and finer things for that, and these are finer ones. These are all quite old ones that I've used. I've got one in my pistol drill just now, and you know, I'll use this. That's reasonably aggressive, or reasonably abrasive, and I'll run that round the edge of a casing, and it'll clean off all the old lacquer, and you'll start to work through that, and you'll start to get the aluminium, but without marking the aluminium significantly, and you can polish it back out afterwards. And that's exactly what I did with this 750 here. I'll just show you it again. You can see there, that really does look quite nice. I've not finished it yet, I've only polished it lightly this morning, but that was really very discoloured and very kind of scabby. And if I go underneath, you can probably see what it was like. It was all like that. You can see underneath it, it all looked like that. And this was not the work of days, but it was the work of perhaps an hour to take it from looking like it did underneath to looking like that now. So, you know, the dividends are really there to be had. So let's show you, and I'm going to do it right in front of you, how we'll clean up this this cam cover. Let's see if you can see it. Yes, you can. Turn that around a wee bit. Right. Now, this is a bit tedious for you. Trust you, it's much more tedious for me doing it. But I think it's a lesson worth it. It's something worth seeing. Always wear some gloves. Why? Because if you don't, and this is a lesson born of bitter experience, the aluminium dust and just all the metal that you're getting off, it turns into this nasty paste. It gets under your fingernails, it gets into your cuticles, and you are days scrubbing it out. So, wearing something, nick your wife's marigolds, anything you like, don't tell her, nick the marigolds from under the sink, and use something like this. These are kind of, I don't know what you'd call them, they're nitrile or something they call them. Nitrile gloves, they're bloody brilliant, so grab a handful of these if you can. They're not expensive, and they'll just save you scrubbing your hands for hours. Okay, here we go. So, we got a Scotch-Brite pad. There. Here's that nasty scabby. Nasty, horrible scabby all around the edges, and get it a nice flat surface. This is a steel bench I made many years ago, but you can use it, and you know, block of wood, anything like that, and just get that, and we'll start to rub it there, and you'll see the lacquer start to flake off. There's bits of flakes of lacquer coming off it already, and just turn it. I hope this isn't jerking about too much, but just turn it again. I bet when I lift this up now, we'll already be seeing some benefit. Nope. There we are. We're starting to get through that already. Let me just get that a bit closer for you. There you are, that's better. We're starting to work through that already. And I'll just work a bit on the edges. Turn it a wee bit. You might think, have you got no life? That you get pleasure from doing this? And maybe you're right. But this does give me a huge amount of pleasure. Getting the results, not necessarily doing this. This is a ball ache, but the dividends there to be had. And it's really, really surprising how fast you can turn something that's deeply unpresentable into something that actually looks okay. And you can see already we've made a massive difference to that. I'm trying to get the light on it. There, that's quite good. I'm just rocking it gently because this is a domed piece. It's a domed cap. So I'm just rocking it gently just to make sure. I've done it again. You can see all the aluminium paste that's on that kind of, on the Scotch-Brite. Scotch-Brite is a trademark. It's I think it's 3M that makes Scotch-Brite, but There's other, I think DuPont makes some stuff as well, but it's brilliant. It's a great standby for renovation. Okay, we're not there yet, but we've made a huge, that will actually start to polish out. And I'm just gonna, see the edges still look awful. So let's find the worst bit. Maybe about there. And there's some little bits of lacquer on that. Little bits of lacquer there. So just watch this and you'll see the lacquer start to flake off. There we are, it's gone already. Just work your way around it gently. You can of course cheat a bit and just polish around the top bits that you can see, but that would be cheating. Okay, you can see what it looked like there, and then come around there, and you've seen how long that, it's just been the work of a few minutes. So finally, and it's not final, but this is just to show you how far you can get it in a very short time. This is Solvol Autosol. It's an abrasive polish, metal polish. I buy it in a big tub, so I'll pop it in one of these, because if you leave the top off the tub it dries out. So I'll just get a bit of that. And this is the stuff that really gets into your fingers if you're not wearing gloves. It takes an awful lot of scrubbing out. You know, I've tried barrier cream and all these other things, but really there's no substitute for wearing gloves. You might feel like you're a bit of a big Jessie doing it, but I can stand being called a Jessie. Okay, let's just see what we've got there. And you can see the side that I've polished as opposed to the side that I haven't. And I think that's a great dividend for not a lot of work and not a lot of expense either. You can send these away and get them polished, but I'm a Scotsman and I've got a national stereotype to maintain, so I'm all for saving a bit of money if you possibly can. So you can see what I've done in very few minutes with that right in front of you. I'm sorry if it was a bit dull, but a demonstration of how little it actually takes to take something that's very, very tatty and scabby indeed into something that's very, very presentable. So this of course is not the finished article. I'll carry on polishing around here and all the way around the edges, and I'll give this a bit more love with the Scotch Brite. There are other abrasives available, I'm sure. I'll give it a bit more love with the Scotch Brite and get it really, really smooth, and this will look fantastic when it's on the bike. Likewise, I've done that with the engine case at this side. This is not quite finished yet, but I'm going to take it around the other side now and you can have a look at the one I'm working on there. Okay, so here we are. This is really quite nasty all round there. I'll do exactly the same here. I've started this one already, as you can see. That was with Scotch Brite here, the pad I've got here. Always use, when you're rubbing these things down, always use a wooden block. It's tempting just to use it at the back of your hand, or the flat of your hand, you know, with the Scotch Brite on it. You're never going to get anything like enough purchase on the lacquer or the metal, or anything like a flat finish, or a nicely polished finish. So use a nice block of wood, a good flat block of wood, and kind of, hang on, you can see this. I'll just turn this round. Doesn't work. And I'll just polish that kind of like that on the edges, and you can feel when you're on the flat bit, and that will, just like that, and it doesn't take that long. As you can see there, to start working through it. I've been doing this bike for about an hour and a half this morning, one way or another. It's looking lots and lots better already. It will probably take me 4 to 6 hours to get all the aluminium polished all through the bike, and it'll look great. And I'll show you when it's done. And it's also quite rewarding when you see the finished article. I suppose it's one of these things that's a gratification, isn't it? You know, it's a reward for effort. So it's worth doing, and you get a lot of pleasure from having done it. I'm not saying you get lots from doing it, but it's one of the things you need to do. Okay, thanks. We'll talk more across the next week, so good luck with whatever you're doing. Thanks, bye.